So, what if the next big war wasn't really fought with soldiers and tanks at all? What if it was fought with, algorithms, or even in space? Today, we're going to dig into this really fascinating report from the UK Ministry of Defense that tries to paint a picture of exactly what warfare could look like in the year 2040. So, let's see what they came up with. The report basically describes this whole future as a new kind of chess game, a really high stakes one. But the thing is, the board itself is way bigger. The pieces are now digital, and yeah, the old rulebook, it's been tossed right out the window. So the game of war is changing, for sure. The big question is, what are the new rules? Okay, so the first huge shift they talk about is the battlefield itself. I mean, the whole idea of where a conflict even takes place is, well, it's expanding in ways we've just never seen. It's not just land, sea, and air anymore, not by a long shot. So what's causing all this? Well, the report points to 6 really big global drivers that are pushing this change. You've got the classic stuff like global power competition, but then you add in huge demographic shifts, climate change, and just how connected we all are now, that hyperconnectivity. Throw in massive economic changes and growing inequality, and you've basically got a recipe for a completely different world. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how these things connect. You could have climate change causing a physical disaster, right? Like a flooded city. But that crisis then becomes a digital battlefield, a prime target for cyber attacks, hitting that city's essential services. The physical and the digital, they're not separate anymore. They're totally intertwined. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the future battlefield is, well, it's everywhere, literally. The report makes it super clear. Conflict is going to stretch from the bottom of the ocean all the way up to satellites in deep space. And get this, even into the cognitive realm. The battle for what you think, what you believe. The old idea of a single front line, it's basically toast. All right, so it's not just the battlefield that's changing, it's also who's on it. The cast of characters is getting, well, incredibly crowded. Now, of course, the report says that states, the big countries and rising powers, they're still going to be the main actors on the world stage. But, and this is a really big but, they are absolutely not playing alone anymore. Not even close. And just look at this new cast of players. We're talking huge multinational corporations with budgets bigger than some nations. We've got what the report calls super empowered individuals. Think tech moguls who can influence global events with a single decision. You've even got giant megacities acting like their own independent players. And yeah, of course, you've got extremist groups and private military contractors armed with new tech. The line between who has power and who doesn't, it's getting really, really blurry. So you might be asking, how are all these new players getting a seat at the big table? One word, technology. Game-changing, disruptive technology. This is where things start to get really wild. Let's start with AI, artificial intelligence. The report says it's going to shrink decision-making time. We're talking life or death decisions from minutes down to just seconds. And that brings up a massive question, right? Are humans even going to stay in the loop? Are we just going to be the ones who press go and let the machines handle the rest? Okay, then you've got hypersonic weapons. And these aren't just slightly faster missiles. We're talking so fast they could make our current defense systems totally useless. Just try to wrap your head around a weapon that can hit any target anywhere on Earth in just a few minutes. I mean, how do you even see that coming? And how on earth do you stop it? And then, of course, space. It's the ultimate high ground, right? Perfect for comms, for surveillance, which also means it's our biggest vulnerability. The report is pretty blunt about this. Space is likely to become militarized, maybe even weaponized. And that puts our entire society, which depends on satellites for everything, in a really risky spot. So the really crucial point here, and this quote from the report nails it, is that these technologies aren't working in isolation. It's their convergence, the merging of digital, biological, and physical tech that's creating a whole new reality, a reality where the old boundaries just melt away. Okay, so with all this mind-bending complexity, what can we actually be sure about? What's the most likely future? Well, the report has this great term for it, good bets. These are the things that are so likely to happen, they're considered a solid foundation for planning. And let's be super clear about what a good bet actually is. We're not talking about wild speculation here. These are the characteristics that kept popping up over and over again in every single future scenario the analysts ran. This is pretty much the bedrock of what 2040 is going to look like. So here are three of the biggest ones. First up, the battlefield is going to be congested and transparent. With sensors everywhere, there's just going to be nowhere to hide. Second, trying to keep a technological advantage, it's going to be incredibly hard. Any leg up you get will be temporary because everyone else is catching up so fast. And third, that line between what happens at home and what happens abroad, it's going to completely disappear. The front line, as we said, is literally everywhere.
And that all leads to a final and, honestly, pretty unsettling takeaway. The picture this report paints is of a world that's in a constant state of competition, where the lines between war, crisis, and peace have basically just dissolved. And it leaves us with this one really profound question to think about. If the battlefield is everywhere and the conflict never really stops, what does peace even mean anymore?